Yeah, that's a pleasure to meet you. Almost said in person, but right now we're virtual. So
good enough.
Yeah, good enough. One day we'll be there in person. But please, if you wouldn't mind starting, would love to hear more about you, kind of like your background, your education. And I think you're from Romania originally, so, you know, but I'm sure you've done a bit of traveling. So just give us the backstory of how you got to RubikHub.
Well, as I was saying, it's a long story, but to keep it short, actually, what's important to remember, I think of myself like being a very curious person. So my background is in biomedical engineering, actually, and I worked in healthcare for, 15 years almost, having different jobs. But I always consider myself being an entrepreneur, for example. And like 6 years ago, I found about RubikHub, and I was mesmerized. It was something amazing for me from this part of, or my bubble at least. It was something quite new. And I remember saying to myself that I have to do anything to be part of their story. So back then, RubikHub was like 2 years old. Now we just made 8 years old. So for 6 years, I'm with RubikHub, and what we are doing here in RubikHub actually is inspire, educate, and support startup founders in their journey towards global success. This in a very short nutshell.
Very much so. Really quick, is RubikHub a government? Actually, this kind of leads into my next question. Can you tell me about what is RubikHub? Is it a government sponsored program? Is it investors put money together? How is it formed? And what are you doing there right now?
RubikHub, we consider ourselves being a community, first of all. But we actually are part of a public authority. It's called Northeast Regional Development Agency. And what's interesting was that if for Europe this kind of support is something not new. For Romania it was quite innovative. So we started with and we are part actually from Northeast RDA till this day. But what happened for us is that we attract partners to support in our programs also. And you mentioned the VCs, for example, our acceleration program are made possible due to this kind of collaboration and support we receive from VCs.
Nice. I like it. So I know that you are a program manager, and from one program manager to another, I kind of really wanted to take the chance to kind of learn, how are you running your programs? What's the duration of them? What are you focused on? Just kind of wanted to hear how you run yours compared to how I run mine.
I have to mention that I am mostly focused on the pre-acceleration program, which is RubikHub. It's called RubikHub here in RubikHub. And what's important again to say is that it's the first program we started in RubikHub, and we did it because we saw a need in in entrepreneurship development, and we went towards students, of course, for first 2 years, but after that. Pandemic struck us and it was for me an opportunity to assess again everything we learned in the first 2 years. And basically we looked at who we thought the founders are, or the next founders are. I don't know if you know, but Romania is quite renowned due to IT outsourcing industry. So we looked at those kind of professionals in IT, and we believe that actually the next startups will be founded by those guys. And actually this is what RubikHub is now. It's a pre-acceleration program. We address IT professionals who have an idea and they need clarity in order to bring it to market. And this is the first step of the journey we are proposing. And what happened after the pandemic came is that we saw that actually the founders might be on other stage of the journey where we were addressing with RubikHub. And we started other programs like acceleration program. It's called Rubik Garage, and we're proud to say that we held a separate edition. It's a CE-focused startup program. So basically, we look at a broader geographical area, and this is because startups address global problems, and we can learn from each other also. And
absolutely. Any alumni that have come out of either of those programs that you'd like to mention, either the seed or the garage?
Well, for what I was thinking of mentioning alumni, it's from a RubikHub program, and I have two in mind. And the reason is that they follow us in other programs as well. And one of the first is Synaptic, which is a health tech startup. They are developing solutions for radiotherapy using AI, basically reducing the time a physician needs from hours to minutes. And it's a very important startup for me as a personal level, because it was the first validation I received from founders that what we are doing actually has impact. And of course, there are, I don't know, 5 years now, and they are still close to us in terms of we are helping them in the investment, and we have a program for that part also, and making connection with mentors from our community and so on and so forth, basically helping them grow. And another startup I was thinking, which again, it's important for us in terms of let's say the progress they made. It's called WillyLoad. It's a startup who are helping individuals have better plans for roaming data, and also in Europe, at least there are a lot of expats and from Asia mostly, who need to recharge their or the SIMs of their family and so on and so forth. So basically, they went in a RubikHub program, in acceleration program. After that, they went in Rubik Garage program, and after that, they are in investment readiness program. So basically, it's a journey. And to be honest, we have a presentation for RubikHub, and there are a lot of details on the presentation I would like to give you, and perhaps take some insights to better support what I was saying right now.
Absolutely. Yeah, please send it over. It sounds really cool. Like it sounds almost like you're doing the same thing at RubikHub that we're doing. My main job is at Generator. And we have like 𝐸-alpha, which is like, I've got an idea and I need help making an MVP, so very early stage. And then we have 𝐸-beta, which is like, I've got maybe an MVP, I've maybe talked to some customers, I need help like securing my first deal or like getting it out there or things like that, It's very, very seed stage. And then we have our investment accelerators that, we invest and we get equity and we help them grow and raise around. So it sounds like y'all are doing all that within RubikHub, under one roof.
And I didn't have a chance to mention another program. It's just called Rubik Scale. And actually, we had 2 cohorts, and it was called Rubik Scale to US. Now it's Rubik Scale to UK, because we want to help founders scale in UK to be better prepared for US market. So this is what we learned. And I was going to the learning part of how we are doing our programs. Actually, every program I mentioned right now is by learning. We look at the founders, what they need, how they integrate after the program ends, how can we support better the founders on the long term. Because in the end, we say that our success is due to the founder success. So we try to look at those parts. And even if we have, let's say, the same name for every page of our programs, there are little tweaks which makes that there are no two, let's say, in mirror editions. For example, for today and for Friday, we held interviews with participants in our programs to better understand what the challenges are, how we address them, and where they are now. And all of that to just better prepare our next batch.
So you've had a bunch of these founders kind of going from idea to MVP, MVP to first customers, kind of all throughout the pipeline. I personally love working at a very early stage, idea to MVP, kind of working out those kinks, talking to your first customers. I'm very interested to hear from you. What's one lesson that you think every kind of first-time founder should hear, or maybe even a mistake that a lot of first-time founders make that could be easily avoided?
Well, I think the first, as an advice, I would say there is a lot of work that can be done behind the computer. Starting from research and, building link canvas and just plain research, basically. You can do a lot of modeling using everything, a laptop, basically. And the second advice would be get out of the building. Start talking with real people, tell about your idea, find who your clients actually are, and doesn't matter how much experience you might have in a certain industry, you still have to talk with experts in that industry. And I think there are 3 advices, but basically don't rush going outside, but do it.
No, that's great advice. And in our program, we have like a weekly one-on-ones meetings with the different teams. Yep. And the one thing I always ask every time, and like by week 3 or 4, they figure out, like, Grant's going to ask, like, have you talked to your customers this week? What have they said? What are your customers saying? And like, we don't know. We didn't talk to them. Well, we know exactly what we need to do.
And what's very interesting is that we have access nowadays to a lot of knowledge, and it's amazing. But still, there is let's say, the human touch, the mentor involvement, because even if they know the theory, a lot of founders find it very difficult to just apply it, and they need support at least at the first stage. They really need support in completing a link canvas, which is not shitty. On problem statement, I would stay like more than 1 week only on the problem statement on link canvas. And of course, on problem statement is another section which I found it incredibly underlooked. It's alternative solutions. I go see what people are doing, how they are doing. It's for your learning. It's not competition, at that stage at least. So just do your research. And that was
explain that to me. I would like to hear your thoughts on that. You said it's not competition. How are alternative solutions and competition different?
Competition becomes competition in the moment when you are addressing the same client, and you have clients. At first, you have just an idea and a lot of assumptions. So basically, you can use alternative solution to better understand users' behavior or customer behavior, and see their struggle, and see how they found the solutions they are using, and what they hate about those solutions, because the first clients usually are from that part. You can't, we don't live anymore in a world where, you just use pen and paper. I think we aren't on that part now. So basically, you can find digital tools or tech which can help a business or a person in what they need. The idea is to find the struggles of those persons and to give a better solution. And this is important to understand. In my mind, it's easy to understand from the start. We can do just if it's not something not very complicated or enterprise level solution, you can just test it. You can watch demos on YouTube because everyone has demos. You can see what their unique proposition is. So basically, you can learn a lot. And sometimes just addressing a different client segment could be enough for a startup to succeed.
Yeah, I like it. Very good explanation. I think maybe because things are so early at the stage that I'm at, I just combine the alternative solution and like competition into one thing of like, hey, listen, if they have a problem and they're not using your product, whatever they're doing to, like, whether it's a service or they're just not doing anything about it, that is your competition. And if they're not doing anything to solve it, then either A, the problem isn't big enough for them to care, or B, what is it? You have to overcome like their existing, like you have to provide so much value that they say, okay, this is worth me changing what I'm already doing. Because people are very resistant. Most people are very resisting to change, you know? So you have to give like overwhelming evidence of like, this will make your life better if you implement this solution. And one example I was used in the class is like, if you're going on a hike and you get a leaf in your shoe, you're probably not going to care too much. You're just going to crush it and keep walking, you know? But if you get a rock in your shoe, you're going to stop, you're going to untie your shoe, you're going to take it off, you're going to take the rock out. It's like the only reason you're doing that is because it caused you like enough pain to take action. And it's like, make sure that, like, which pushes a lot of students of like, oh, maybe the solution we're creating for this problem is more of a leaf, you know, or like the problem we're focusing on is more of a leaf in somebody's shoe instead of a rock. It's like, okay, cool. What's the rock? You know, so that's the example I always like to use, and it works. You know, enough people have walked and gotten a rock in their shoe that they understand.
Finds a guy who has a rock in his shoe, not a leaf.
Exactly. Find the guy with the rock in his shoe. So, perfect. All right, taking more of a broad stance. So you've been at RubikHub for the last 6 years. You've been kind of in the tech and startup community for even longer and seen how things have changed. How have you seen the like startup ecosystem in Romania change over the last maybe 10 years? I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, I was trying to think something not to look too enthusiastic, but actually I think the leap is huge. Like 7-8 years ago, the idea were just a few, and they were quite, how do I put it, rough. And even at our first batches, a lot of the founders didn't quite understand what a startup is actually. And unfortunately, in Romania, we have, let's say, still a legacy in terms of speaking aloud about our ideas and to look for encouragement. So basically, this is what we did in RubikHub. We actually we spoke about entrepreneurship and the idea that it could be a path for some of the students. For me personally, every year I spent in school, and there were like 18 years in school, it was just 1 year to become a better employee. And I was lucky enough to find places in which I could define my work. But it's an exception, my experience. So basically we started with that part. And at first, it wasn't a common understanding of what a startup is and the impact it could create. And one of the startups, which actually it's, we are mentoring each other, let's say. It's called Digital. It's Series B now, and we grew together. And and actually their main market right now is US. And 𝐶𝐨𝐵 and Rubik, they are amazing founders, and they gave a lot of support to us and other startup founders. But like 6 years ago and perhaps longer, there are not so many good founders with good ideas for once, and for the other part, there were some startup communities where they were struggling as we did. But we understood quite early that only working together actually we can promote, let's say, the idea of startup entrepreneurship among the students and professionals, so on and so forth. So, like during the pandemic, one of the projects we started in RubikHub was an idea right then, but after that it took shape of an umbrella association, which actually represent all enablers in Romania in the startup and represent outside, but also in terms of government policies. And it's something that happened because all of the development of the startup ecosystem in Romania. And it's like an example of what happened during these years, and it's a project which was what is supported by World Bank and European Commission, and again some internal in Romania policymakers and so on and so forth. And
are you seeing a lot of like college students who are like you mentioned before, you had 18 years of education and just made you a better employee? Or are you seeing a lot of students taking more of the entrepreneurial path or being more interested in
somehow our focus changed during these years, but in Romania it's a program actually who addresses this type of university students. It's called Innovation Labs. And yes, I would say yes. Again, there are no, let's say, big numbers, but there are students who started during university years, and we have startups actually from those part. And again, it's like a snowball. In the end,
so the thing is, like, you don't have to have like everyone immediately. Like, I think, especially with this channel, the cool thing is there's so many like very early stage startup communities. Like Romania as a whole is still so early in building up its startup community. Like, perfectly fine. The cool thing is you've been able to get some students interested in it, and it just takes a few successes to build on that. But like, you got to start with one,
And what I would mention, like small victory, actually, is that any university I know has entrepreneurship programs which are becoming better and better. And I think this is a huge leap, because it's not enough to have entrepreneurship programs. They have to be good. And part of what we are doing actually is going to meetups with students, universities, and be close with what they are doing, just to better understand how the mindset shifts. And we see that it's happening. I think it's amazing.
Nice. Love to hear it, man. All right, let's end this on a positive note. What can my audience, like if anybody's interested in entrepreneurship in Romania, or potentially moving to Romania to start a startup, or somebody in Romania that isn't in your city is interested in it, what should they hear? What should they know? Any events coming up? How can I help you?
I believe that one big win from this talk will be that people will know that we exist. There are great startups coming from Romania, and not only from Romania. And I was mentioning the fact that actually our superpower is made possible due to our mentors. So any mentor who wants to discover from your community, wants to discover what's happening in Romania, is more than welcome in RubikHub. So, and to find about the startups and what we're actually building.
Perfect. Ionut, it has been a pleasure to meet you today, and I look forward to one day seeing you in person in Romania and getting to see all these great startups and getting to check out RubikHub for myself.
Consider an open invitation. So anytime you are in Romania, we are waiting for you here in RubikHub at 𝐶𝐨𝐧'𝐭.
Perfect. Thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you around.
Thank you. Bye-bye.